We're live, pal.
Hey, we're live, pal, as I tweet out that we're live. So, welcome everyone to another episode of the A-Side Live Chat here on MMAfighting.com. Normal Wednesday time. I'm sure that will have to change moving forward because now we're getting more media obligations during fight week, but that's another conversation for another time. But I am, of course, José Youngs, host of the A-Side Live Chat. Joining us this week, she's making her return. We've had a few questions when she's coming back. It's cool Alex Savas. Alex, how's LA?
You know, not bad. We went to Malibu this weekend, and I had to mention, we saw these crystal shops called Serenity Rocks, and they had like floor to ceiling size like amethyst. So I have to go back and take a few photos and see what's going on in there.
Yeah, someone tell me what amethyst does, because that was not one of the crystals on the list of crystals that Jessica, Crystal Queen, gave us. So unless it was, I also lost the list, so I could be completely wrong. But Casey, how's life in Englewood?
Inglewood is up to good. I think that's how the saying goes. It rhymes, so yeah, we're up to good.
It rhymes.
It rhymes.
Come up with another one for next week. Every week have a new rhyme for Englewood. Anyway, you guys know the drill. You can ask questions on Twitter. You can ask questions on the site. People have asked me where to ask questions on the site, so I guess we have a lot of new listeners that haven't been around that long listening to this iteration of the A-Side Live Chat. You go to MMAfighting.com, find that post that says the A-Side Live Chat. Go to the comment section, leave your comments there if you want to get ahead, because normally we prioritize those over the tweet. So if you want to get your questions in, ask there. Don't ask 7 questions in one. Break them up. Put seven comments, not one post with 7 questions, because it won't fit on the screen. But I digress. Casey, what is our first question?
First question. Hold on. This is the get question music. All right, let's talk about the big news from yesterday.
Terrence Leverett, longtime commenter on Twitter. As I say, we prioritize questions on the site. First one ain't nothing but a thing. Terrence Leverett, Bellator coming in hot with this lightweight tournament. Does he mean light heavyweight?
Light heavyweight.
Light heavyweight. Light heavyweight tournament, what match that isn't made yet, but you hope it does happen from this tournament. Also, big fan of an FU. How big of an FU to Dana would it be if Bellator signed all the atom weights before Dana? I could see it happening. Okay. Hashtag DC farted. That's kind of funny. So shout out to hashtag DC farted. Anyway, yes, Casey, I was driving. I was on vacation yesterday, and I will on Monday, Tuesday, I don't know, whatever day it is. I was driving back during the press conference, so I caught up with all the news. When I got back, you two were covering it for the site when it was going down. So, Casey, I'll start with you, because I believe Esther was there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, she was.
What did you make of Bellator's big announcement of their light heavyweight tournament? I felt like, personally, it was already kind of widely known. I think that's someone talking about payroll systems in the background. Alex.
We keep the door shut, but the cats go in and out, and then the door just flies wide open, and now we're just working in a big bullpen.
Damn cats. Anyway, Casey, I feel like we all knew this was coming, but it's now official. What did you make of Scott Coker and Bellator's big announcement of their light heavyweight tournament?
Well, I guess that was the biggest announcement. So there are multiple announcements, but the biggest one.
Multiple.
But that tournament, yay, awesome. That's what we all wanted. It made sense. The timing was perfect for it. They just signed these amazing fighters, free agents, I guess, from UFC. And it's gonna be one hell of a tournament. I hope everything happens according to plan, which nothing ever does. But hope there's no injuries, before the fights. And it's awesome. And I mean, we can hem and haw about the matchups and stuff, and but overall, I think it's pretty awesome. I like there's some vets in there. I like there's some definitely some old school guys in there. We got some new guys I've never heard of. Oh my God, we got to figure out how to spell that guy's name. The guy that's fighting Corey Anderson.
Not only do we need to figure out how to spell that guy's name, we got to figure out how to get a photo of him.
Yeah.
I could not find a photo of him anywhere.
Yeah.
I know Alex made a nice bracket for it if you ever want to throw it up on the.
He is every graphic designer's nightmare.
Oh, geez. We got to get a nickname for that guy. He can't be like that. He's got
homework
like
for
Dov. I don't know. Like
Dovlejan. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. Very good fighter. But we got to figure a way to shorten that.
Yeah.
So anyway, of the four? 5? I don't know how many matchups there are.
4, 1, 2, 3. Yeah,
4
fights,
matchups, right? Of the 4 fights in the tournament, which one are you most looking forward to in the first round?
Yeah, you got to go with Anthony Johnson, Yoel Romero. I mean, I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I wish those guys were in opposite brackets. I wanted to build up for that fight, but
I feel like that's not an unpopular opinion. I felt like I saw that a lot on Twitter.
I saw
people were upset that it was the. Oh, I saw a lot of people were upset. They wanted the AJ McKee Pitbull scenario where they're on opposite ends.
That's what I prefer. I prefer that. But I saw a lot of people. I think like Ariel and things like that. Which is I like Ariel's opinion, but basically they were under like strike with irons hot and make sure you get that fight. And I get that. Yeah. I get that too because so many times things happen and just so now. Bellator has put not all the eggs in one basket, but they want to make sure this thing starts off with the biggest bang, probably the biggest fight of the actual tournament, at least coming into it, is that fight, Johnson versus Romero, and dude, that fight's gonna be freaking awesome. I hope that fight lasts more than like 30 seconds. That's all I want. I don't want one shot, but man, see that the fact that that's 5 rounds too, so. If that fight goes 5 rounds, that could be a really bad 5 rounds, to be honest. But it's just a lot of my imagination goes everywhere thinking about that fight. So I like it.
I don't mind that happening in the first round only because if you look at how the bracket is laid out, it's on the April 16th card, and if it was on the April 9th card, and it was like in another one, it would be 4 former UFC fighters all on the same card. So I think they wanted to break it up, so 3 on each side. So Bader, Machida, Corey Anderson on one side, Davis, Johnson, Romero on the other side. You didn't need, like, all of a sudden 2 UFC fights right out of the gate on the first night or rematches. Anyway, also, if Bader and Rumble make it to the finals, that's a rematch. If Nemkov and Bader make it to the finals, that's a rematch. But, my God, imagine if we get Bader versus Phil Davis 3. In the finals.
But you know what? But Phil Davis, if he actually can beat Nemkov, which would be awesome,
yeah, that's true.
Amazing, and he has to beat Romero or Johnson, I mean, he's earned it. I mean, like,
sure.
So by that point, we might have a different impression of what Phil Davis is. So, who knows? And if Phil Davis,
Alex, what do you make of this?
Sorry, go for it.
Alex, what do you make of this tournament? You made the draft. You watched all that stuff.
Yeah, sure I did. By making graphics, I literally copy and paste things. I have no real memory of what I'm doing, but I'm just here for a 205-pound Romero. Like, I'm so excited to see that. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, hopefully he's much more interested in talking at specific media events because when he was kind of 185, and I know everyone likes all the funny Romero memes, but he is miserable to talk to on media days during the week.
I love that. I love miserable fighters. I love them when they're angry. They're just like, Like when Romero, when you ask him a question, he's just tired of it. He just goes,
yeah, remember when he did that to Oscar? And
yeah.
It was like, oh, man, that was good.
Yeah, so,
he did that to me a few times, too. When I asked him questions I thought he would enjoy, he'd just say, I don't know. Like, you're not giving me nothing, my guy. Anyway, yeah, I'm obviously a big fan of tournaments, Grand Prix, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so 10 out of 10 booking all around. It does tie up the heavyweight championship, but I'm sure they'll have plans moving forward for that. Yeah, Bader's, of course, still in the bracket.
It gives them a little time to build up that heavyweight division too. Bellator's never really been known.
The Congo fight was still there because their last fight ended in a no contest because of the eye poke. Mm-hmm. So if I felt like they should have run that back before Bader got thrown into this, but it is what it is. Yeah,
and
10 out of 10 booking all around. Oh, yeah, big F you to Dana would be if Bellator signed all the atomweights before Dana.
Dana doesn't care.
I don't really care where they go. Just give them a big platform.
Yeah. And DC did fart. Hashtag.
Jessica, no one has a cat head filter on. I'm leaving. What does this mean?
Oh
Have
my!
you seen the
what?
The video floating around.
You work in social media. You don't know about Cat Lawyer, man. That's like
man.
That is half my Twitter feed is Cat Lawyer.
If I was away for the last 3 days. I haven't looked at my Twitter pretty much.
This is the
So basically,
this
was like a very important Zoom meeting of like a judge and like 2 attorneys, and one of the attorneys logs on to Zoom, and I guess somebody had been using the computer before him and left a cat filter on him, and he was so concerned, like you can just see the desperation in his eyes trying to get this filter off of himself. You have to watch it. It's
is everyone a good sport about it?
Dude, it is. Okay, the pandemic's been horrible. 500,000 people just in the U.S. are gonna die from it. Millions of people lost their jobs. Millions of job evictions. Just horrible unrest in this country because of the pandemic. But because of the pandemic, we got this cat lawyer video. So I think it's all kind of even Steven. You know, I'm just saying.
Was everyone a good sport about it?
Dude,
they're into old dinosaurs.
That's what makes it so good because it's a perfect video. It's just it's not mean spirited. It's kind of. Because we've seen kind of these Zoom videos of like, you know, someone in a Zoom meeting and they take their camera to go take a piss and they keep their camera on. It's just like really awkward and weird. Or like some guy, you know, was that Washington Times or some high level editor or some news agency decided to.
The Washington Times?
I don't know. The guy that was all, you know, got fired for, you know, doing that thing during a Zoom meeting.
Oh.
Yeah. But this is just a fun little video. And dude, where's that cat filter? That cat filter is freaking awesome. I didn't even know that cat filter. It was so good. And like the little shifty eyes on the cat. Oh, that's so good. And for the record, he is not a cat.
That's true.
I'm searching it. Oh, I see it now.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Let's get Jose's reaction as he watches it. Can you watch it, Jose?
No, I'm not watching it yet. I just saw the screens. I searched it and there's like screenshots of it on Twitter. I haven't. I'll watch it after this.
I don't know. This is bigger news than anything MMA right now. I'm just saying.
I'll take your word for it.
All right, cat video.
These youths and their filters.
All right, now get out there, Jessica Crystal Crew. All right, here we go. Oh, wait, no, Leverett. God dang it, you again.
Dang it, you again.
Here we go.
We love all our commenters, if that wasn't obvious.
From Average Joe Art. Jay Romero. I think someone just got in a car crash outside. Longtime commenter, great artist. Like I just heard a big bang, like a block from it sounded like a car crash, so unfortunate.
That's the beginning of like that's the beginning of some disaster movie. Like, oh, what's that?
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it. Anyway, at Average Joe R, Jay Romero, longtime commenter, great artist. If you watch our interview with me, Esther, Israel Adesanya, and Eugene Behrman before UFC, what was that, 248? I don't even remember that long ago. He's wearing Jay Romero's shirt with his Spider-Man design. Anyway, after the devastating KO, yep, that's him. He promised me a Spider-Man shirt. Someday I'll get it. After the devastating KO of Frankie Edgar, it seems like Sandhagen wasn't really wanting to celebrate his victory, which shows how respected and beloved Frankie is. Yet you never hear a bad word about him. Is he top 5 most beloved fighters ever? Who are the rest? Oh, man, I haven't thought about a top 5, but Frankie is definitely way up there. I think we described him as... Alex doesn't watch wrestling, so he's basically the Rey Mysterio of the UFC.
I would say
no one dislikes him.
Yeah,
Frankie Edgar constantly babyface.
Yeah, he's pound for pound most cutest, snuggliest fighter in the UFC. Pound for pound for sure.
You're wearing a Sakuraba shirt, my guy. I think Sakuraba might have
in the UFC. In the UFC,
he fought in the UFC.
Oh yeah, UFC like 22 and a half. One of those weird
UFC
ones.
Japan.
That like 4 people saw. Yeah,
anyway, who's your top 5 most beloved UFC fighters? We'll keep it UFC because there's a lot of pride and rising and all that kind of stuff out there too.
But to me, how you decide who the most beloved fighter is the fighter you least want to see get knocked out cold. You know.
Yeah.
So my top 5 right now: Frankie, Roxanne Modafferi. Oh man, personally, I would hate. I don't mind if she loses. She loses, but man, like Alexa Grasso is so nice. If you ever get the chance to talk to her, she's fighting the co-main event. I don't know. Throw some more out there. I gotta think. I gotta go in my head to the roster.
I put Stephen Thompson.
Oh yeah, Stephen Thompson. That's a good one
for sure.
Paul Felder. Everybody hates when Paul Felder gets hurt.
Yeah.
Cub Swanson's another one, and then I also put GSP and Uriah Faber.
Put Uriah out there. Right, true.
I think it's because I follow him too much on Instagram. Like his family's just like the most precious thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
Oh man, I think Damian Maia could be up there. A lot of people like Damian Maia.
Yeah, people didn't like seeing like when Damian Maia got knocked out by Burns. It kind of like people just kind of felt bad. They got like, oh, but you know.
I hear a lot of Neil Magny when he loses because like when he got submitted by Damian Maia at UFC 190, like I think it was a Thrill in the Agony. He was sitting in the locker room just like by himself crying. And then he like looks up at the camera and sees it and he like strains his face out. So I think that's another one that a lot of people don't like when he loses. I don't know. I think.
I feel like we're missing one. I feel like there's a big one right there.
I feel like there's a really Mark Hominick for a while was one. Like a lot of people liked Mark Hominick.
He's just like a super nice guy. Like you're like, oh, I just don't want to see him to lose. I just don't want to see him lose. Yeah, I think Frankie's up there. Just because you know, like Frankie's just how he is, and like he just goes through all these wars, and just to see him. Ugh. But you know what, Cory Sandhagen, luckily he didn't do a Masvidal and get on the ground and like bah bah bah, or no, he played it right. He's like he even felt in the post fight interview he was like, oh man, I feel bad even watching this.
What about Joe Lozon?
Yeah, he's a beloved guy. Yeah,
because he's like he'll never be champ. He's always in good fights, and he's a nice guy and all that kind of stuff. I don't know anyone that has anything bad to say about Joe Lozon.
Oh, I got an obvious one. Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Current Dustin Poirier for sure.
Current Justin. Yeah, he's like he just. I like how you mentioned Cub Swanson too. It's like those guys. You just like if they lose, they lose. But you just you hope they lose nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan Hooker, I think, is a popular one too. Currently.
Dan Hooker.
Yeah, I'd say
As
so.
beloved?
Really?
Well, I think people don't like when see because he
talks a lot of trash too. Like
he does, but he talks a lot of trash, but he talks trash in the same vein as like that's just it's not fake. Like when Felder and Hooker fought, I saw a lot of people that were kind of torn on who they wanted to win.
Mm.
Robert Whittaker, probably. A lot of people like Robert Whittaker.
Yeah.
Whittaker.
Whittaker, that's
Jan.
Whittaker's
Jan.
Volkanovski.
Oh, Max Holloway.
Yeah, Max is a good one.
Max is a guy, like, if he loses, he loses, but you just don't want to see him get hurt. Like, oh, Max. All right. Whoa. All right, Batman.
All kinds of chaos.
Yeah, Batman out there. What's going on? All right, well, thank you very much, Mr.
Beneil Dariush, maybe, if we're talking about fighters that fought most recently.
Mm-hmm. Here comes another question about the tournament.
Bellator Light Heavyweight World Grand Prix Tournament to Alex, Jose, and Casey from Tristan Gordet. With the announcement of the Bellator MMA Light Heavyweight World Grand Prix
answer this,
Tournament, which do you think is the most intriguing matchup? I think we all agree it's probably Corey Anderson. Well, that is an intriguing matchup just because not many people know how to pronounce his opponent's name, and they're not familiar with his fights. And then Corey Anderson obviously looks great against who's it, Melvin Manhoef in his Bellator debut. So there's honestly all the fights are intriguing.
Oh, for sure.
But I think Rumble, because we've never seen Romero at 205. Rumble is his first fight since he lost.
We've Romero originally fought at 205. That's how he got.
Right.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, he got knocked out by Fejao. I think then there's a lot more. There's a lot of new MMA fans that didn't watch Strikeforce back in the day.
Oh, for sure.
Probably. Yeah. Rumble Romero, just because there's so many questions.
Yeah, and then once those fights develop, then new storylines and new excitement for the next round will happen. So, but I like that new. We're just gonna call him the new guy forever in the tournament because I think every tournament needs that kind of unknown dude. So I like that one unknown fighter put in a tournament.
I agree.
Cool, and thank you for your question. Oh, whoa.
From, I can't even read this. Bruno Vieira. Apologies if I mispronounced your name. Lightweight matchmaking. Please rate my matchmaking. Poirier versus Oliveira. Gaethje versus Chandler. McGregor versus Ferguson. RDA versus Hooker. Felder versus Dariush. Lee versus Makhachev. Ferreira versus Iaquinta. Great. All those fights are awesome, but honestly, you could shuffle any of those names around, and they would be great fights. Makhachev already has a fight coming up with Drew Dober, so I think if you do Lee versus the winner of that fight, maybe. But Lee and Makhachev have been wanting to fight for a long time. Also, Iaquinta, I mean, Felder keeps talking about Al Iaquinta, so maybe that fight. But Dariush does deserve a big name. Dariush won't fight RDA because they're friends. But anyway, what are you going to say, Alex?
I refuse to watch Felder versus Dariush just based on the last question of beloved fighters. Pass.
I like that fight, because Dariush is a really nice cat, and he's been on a tear, and he deserves that big name. And then Felder, he's coming off two losses, but they were two great fights, and he took a fight on 5 days' notice, so he deserves a name, another big name too. So I don't hate any of these fights, but again, their lightweight is so stacked. Like anyone in the top 10 or top 15 versus anyone in the top 15 absolutely rules.
Who's Poirier fight? But let's focus on the top 3 on this. Are the top 3 correct?
Yes. If we're terms of matchmaking that makes sense and for the division, yes.
I'm assuming Poirier and Oliveira is going to be for the title.
I
would assume,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say Gaethje Chandler could be for the number 1 contender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only reason I can see Oliveira not getting that title shot is that they give it to Chandler strictly because UFC just feels they can make more money off that fight. But in terms of maybe how do you say the word?
What?
I want to say metrocracy, but I can't say it right now.
Meritocracy.
Meritocracy. Sorry, I was like, I'm missing a syllable. Meritocracy. Yeah, it definitely should be Oliveira. But in terms of prize fighting, Chandler probably the better one. And in terms of just strictly, let's just make money. Who cares about wins or losses? They might do Poirier, Conor for 3 for the title,
or Poirier, Nate.
If they throw enough money at Nate, who knows? But I doubt they come to 55. But cool. But yeah.
All these fights are great.
Oh, they're great. Yeah, they're great. They're all winners.
10 out of 10.
155 is the most.
Is there any names missing though from these? Is there anyone outside that a name could be replaced? Who are we?
Dober, only because he has a fight lined up with Makhachev. So
Makhachev / Dober, that could be.
Yes.
I can see that. Who else are we missing?
Yeah, Alex Hernandez is a fun one too.
Yeah,
he looks good lately.
I think he's outside of this group. Yeah, I think this is fine.
The lightweight rankings right now because I guess Gillespie is the only one of these matchups that is in the top 15 that doesn't have a fight in this hypothetical matchmaking, but he's sitting at 15.
I feel like Gillespie is almost I feel like Kevin Lee retired him. Jeez, I've been as soon as he got that head kick.
Well, that was his whole MO for a while. He would fight once a year for a long time, Gregor Gillespie. Once, twice a year. His inactivity was a lot.
Yeah. He's he's getting me.
So
I think fishing is his thing, not fighting.
But Drew Dober, Gregor Gillespie versus Brad Riddell. Love that fight if that's actually gonna happen.
Oh, cool. Thank you much. Boom. Here we go.
Conor's Instagram thesis from MMG 2K20. What did you guys make of Conor's thesis on Instagram explaining his loss? Is that just a style, or does he have a different intentions? Is he trying to convince the fans that he's still a top fighter? Could he be worried that fans might start questioning his legitimacy as a top fighter? Well, Conor's very clearly a top fighter. I would still say he's a top 5 lightweight in the world.
Really? Top 5?
I would. Probably closer to 4 or 5.
What?
I think he could beat Tony.
You rank him above him?
Yeah.
Top 5 in the UFC.
In 2021 in the UFC, I would put Conor over Tony. In 2018, I'd probably put Tony over Conor.
All right.
And then Chandler and Oliveira, I would probably put above Conor right now, but I'd probably put Conor at 5.
I have Conor around 6 or 7, I think. But
regardless, fine. Top 10.
Yeah,
he's still top 10.
He's still top 10. He's still top 10. I agree.
But Alex, what did you make of Conor's long Instagram post explaining his loss?
It sounded like a lot of excuse. I just find we've never trained calf kicks before. That narrative doesn't make sense. Are you serious? Everybody knew that Dustin was going to come in with those calf kicks, and you didn't prepare for that. I don't know.
Well, not even in calf kicks. It doesn't make your excuse was I didn't train mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
I was in a mix. I signed a contract to make millions of dollars in a mixed martial arts fight, and I had all these coaches, and we go, you know what? Let's don't mix these martial arts. I don't.
Yeah.
It was a. I don't mind fighters coming up with excuses because excuses and reasons are kind of there's reasons for a loss and how he feel he needs to make improvements. What yeah, but didn't he kind of say I didn't think about it because I was focused on boxing Pacquiao?
He was focused on boxing. Yeah.
That's on you, man. That's on you. I don't know, man.
Also, if you read it, it was also like there's this huge chunk that is trying to sell his like CBD's plant power spray.
Yeah.
So it's like I think it was like, oh, my leg hurts. Here, I spray it on it. I'm fine. So
yeah, I think
there was a.
That's why I took it from it. It was all like, hey guys, I forgot to train mixed martial arts, but before you make fun of me, have you tried this new CBD spray? It works.
Right. But Conor also does say like, oh, I'll be back with improvements, this and that every time. Like remember when he fought Nate the first time, got cooked, and then he just worked so much on his cardio between for the rematch. So I do believe Conor when he says he'll go back to the drawing board. Anyway, I want to add something to.
No, but
go ahead.
What I take from this is how Conor is he is a master at controlling the narrative. Because now it's not about how great Dustin looked. It's about, oh, Conor just forgot about the calf kicks. Once he gets those down, rematch time. So I that's what Conor is just great at. He controls the narrative. The fact that we're talking about this and not talking about the improvements that Dustin Poirier has made as a fighter, so.
I also think Conor's Instagram and his followers in general he probably has a lot of people on there that don't even watch his fights. They just love Conor for Conor, and they're just going to read these statements and be like, oh, that makes sense. Go for, good for Conor, and then just like carry on as normal. Like no one's even there. I guarantee there's a high percentage of people that aren't even really watching his fights.
Gotta
sell the Conor stands.
Gotta sell the trilogy somehow.
What do you think about that?
Also, I do. Go ahead.
What do you think about the last part of the question?
No, I don't think Conor's worried that fans might start questioning his legitimacy. I think he's going to make a lot of money no matter what. I think if he is going to start being worried about it, it will be if he loses the trilogy fight. If he loses the trilogy to Dustin, then there's going to be a lot of like he doesn't get to start picking his opponents anymore. I think also people will be less interested in the trilogy against Nate. He'll never be close to a title anytime soon. So I think the rubber match is going to be very telling.
Does he care about a title? I thought it was just about getting that money.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. I'm not inside the mind of Conor McGregor, but I'm not going to say he doesn't care, but maybe he cares less than others.
Yeah, I don't think there's very much stock for him for a title. As long as there's extra zeros on that check, I don't think it matters. Man, I mean, he fought Mayweather for it. There wasn't a title. Well, I guess there was a money belt. Yeah.
There was a money belt. I would like to add, Jay Romero on Twitter added a few names to our most beloved list that we forgot. Randy Couture, Forrest Griffin, and for a while, BJ Penn. I think we all forgot about Forrest Griffin.
I would include Forrest.
So would I.
There was a lot of the MMA world had issues with Randy Couture, but Forrest Griffin is.
Yes.
Although I will say about Forrest Griffin, he was, and I'll say this on air. Forrest is a nice guy now, but when I first worked in the MMA about 15 years ago, Forrest was in a corner of a fighter, and I had to run into him backstage, and man, he was just an asshole. But like but turns out he was just, and he's talked about this. He's just kind of an asshole in general. And this is over a decade ago, and I definitely think he's a different person now. But yeah, I was like, he was the first fighter. I go, I don't like that guy. I was like, he's just a jerk. And
he's a weird cat, man. He like.
But that's then. But now Forrest Griffin, I've talked to him. He's a nice guy. Whatever.
Right. But when I say weird cat, like remember when he took the mic from Joe Rogan and like interviewed Tito, and he would run out of the cage because he was upset and everything. Weird cat.
Yeah.
Weird cat. But I agree, still one of the most beloved and biggest fan favorite.
People still love you, Forrest. All right.
John Malkin at Johnny Onto on Twitter. With so many title fights coming up, do the UFC have any of these fights backed up in case of injury, COVID? Not officially.
Not.
But we've talked about this a lot. We've talked about this a few times where whenever they book these or whenever we want these title fights booked, they should always book a number one contender fight on the same card just in case.
Dude, this Saturday, I can't believe there's not a backup for Burns or Usman. I'm kind of shocked.
I agree.
Dude, like if that main event falls out this Saturday, that card is barely a fight night.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's not. Dude, there are no top 10. I mean, you can count Kelvin Gastelum, maybe if you're nice, but he's not in my top 10. But there's outside the main event, there are no top 10 fighters on the entire 258 card.
Well, we lost a few. We lost Rivera, Munoz, and we lost Weidman Hall. So they were supposed to be, but then they all fell out. But like you said, they fell out, so you need backups. But like UFC 259, which is the big one, has an unofficial backup. It's Ratchik and Thiago Santos is on the same card as Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya. I'll watch Thiago or Ratchik fight either of them because that fight absolutely rules. But Nunez, Mean Anderson, and Jan Sterling. There's the bantamweight bout between Cruz and Casey Kenny on that card too, but it's not like an official one.
That card 259 doesn't need backup fighters because there's 3 championship fights. There's 3 championship fights. Those are the backups. You know, like the championship fights are the backups.
I'm talking about like what if Aljamain gets pulled?
That's what I'm saying. I feel like they don't need backups for those fighters because the card is so strong. If they lose that fight, that card's still fine.
I guess.
But 258 though, that's why I'm just shocked that there's no backup for Usman or Burns. Because this card is
maybe they tried.
Yeah.
We don't know. Anyway.
But you know what? It could be one of those things, too. We've been at weigh-ins, and all of a sudden someone weighs in and shows, like, what? Like, okay.
That's true.
Yeah. So,
like UFC 250, what was it, 254?
When the Fight Island ones?
The Khabib card, there was like 6 guys that weighed in. We had no idea who they were. But for the 260, for the heavyweight, featherweight fights, they should have backups for those. For sure, I think. Throw another heavyweight fight on there and throw another featherweight fight on there.
What other title fights come after 259? What am I missing? What other title fights am I missing?
260. It's Stipe Francis and Volkanovski Ortega. Both are UFC 260.
Stipe Francis, I could see there actually will be no legitimate backup. I don't think there could be but it's heavyweight, dude. Just
I think Volkov could weigh in.
That might make sense, but
Volkov weighed in before Stipe DC won, just in case.
But those are so weird because I think even Stipe said, like, we asked, like, let's just say if your opponent fell out, would you take a literal last hour fight against Volkov? They're like, no. You know, so like the whole idea of these backup fighters, and like I can never get a clear answer from like Dana or like. These fighters aren't contractually obligated to fight the backup guy either. Like, I don't understand the whole idea of a backup fighter. I mean, they're going to put, of course, the UFC is going to put public pressure on the champ or whatever to take that fight. But, yeah, like Khabib, he fought Al, you know. And people don't give credit to Khabib for that. I guarantee you a lot of these champs wouldn't fight a last second guy. You know, but Khabib did, so I don't think he gets enough credit for that. But like John Jones,
not just a last second guy. That was his 3rd opponent in like 12 days.
Correct. Yeah, maybe that's why Khabib was like, I don't care at this point. I'm just trained. I'm not.
He went from
anybody.
Tony to Max to Al.
All 3 very distinctly different fighters in styles, very different. Yeah.
If you can make a backup for Volkanovski Ortega, who do you? Try to back it up.
Max Holloway.
No.
What?
I'm
Max?
over that.
Why?
I'm over it.
How?
Nah, not Max. Not
Why?
Max. I don't want.
I thought Max. Max had the greatest fight of his career. Most people thought Max won the rematch with Volkanovski. You know, I thought Max won the rematch with Volkanovski. Max looked awesome against Cater. Boom. I don't care. I mean, I think Ortega deserves a shot right now, but for some reason Ortega falls out or Volkanovski falls out, and maybe I don't know, they do an interim.
I think Max is a little past the point of being a backup. I think he deserves the full like media day, training session, all that stuff. Like I am pretty confident that Max wouldn't want to serve as a backup because he's one of those guys that wants a full camp. I think if
they pay him, he is a prize fighter.
That's fine.
He gets paid a good amount.
That's fine. You could pay anyone to fight anyone. But I'm talking about, I think Max is past the point. I'm saying my pick would be Zabit. He doesn't have a fight. He hasn't fought in a long time. He's sitting at number 3, right behind Max and Brian. I think it should be Zabit.
I don't know. I do the backup as the next guy in line, and you pay them the whatever. I don't know how much.
Then stick Max and Zabit on this card.
See, I don't like that either. But I hate that either because if the main event falls out, that means say Zabit or Max get screwed out of a contractually obligated fight when they made weight, their opponent made weight, and then you rip that fight apart.
I think they would get their full. They would get their win bonus too.
I'd rather have a backup if you did it that way and had Holloway Zabit on the card and have a backup for that fight than have a backup for the main event.
So a backup for the backup?
Yeah.
Sure. Just have Arnold Allen weigh in as the 5th man. In case Zabit has to get elevated, then Arnold Allen fights Max Holloway.
Backups make more sense for like the lower ranking fighters than they do for the champ, like you said, Casey. So that just makes more sense.
All right, well.
Just have Ryan Hall weigh in for every featherweight fight.
Oh, dude, if Brian Hall was there, all these featherweights, they would just run scared. All of a sudden, they pulled their hamstring. They fell in the sauna. They can't fight. Yeah. Dude. I'm saying the bravest man in the UFC right now is Dan Ige. Because he was the only one that put pen to paper and says, all right, I'm willing to get my knees snapped in half and face this Ryan Hall. I don't know what Ryan Hall.
Allegedly, that's his name.
Allegedly, his name is Ryan Hall.
Ryan Hall. All right. Thank you for your question, John Molken. I don't think we actually answered anything.
No, the answer is no. They have no backups. A lot of unofficial backups.
All right. We already answered. Sorry. Why is that so small?
Ranking Sandhagen's flying knee knockout on Edgar. 2 Alexes and Casey from Tristan Gordet on the site. In your opinion, where do you rank Cory Sandhagen's flying knee knockout and MMA's modern era? You have Gamebred's knockout over Askren, MVPs against Santos, Barboza against Dariush, as well as Jeremy Stevens' knockout against Bermudez, just to name a few. So, Casey, where would you rank Cory Sandhagen's knockout of Frankie Edgar?
It is so far up there. And I put a lot of weight into who you're fighting. And the fact that he did this, Cory Sandhagen did this, and he did it so... I watched that fight.
It was so cool.
It was so cool. And such high level, and the timing and everything about it. Man, like, it is up there. I know I wasn't one of those people Buckley's knockout last year. Like, I didn't put it as knockout of the year last year because I just didn't think the level of competition was high enough. Like, I put this Cory Sandhagen knockout like right up there, like as far as like the top 2 or 3 knockouts ever in MMA, in terms of violence, who your opponent was, and just perfect technical wise. Technique wise. Technique wise. God, it was just so beautiful. So like just the flow of energy from his knee to Frankie's chin was just unreal. It was just it's right up there. And
walk away too. No
and a walk away.
Punches, just looked over his shoulder and walked away.
Yeah. Even like I must have seen that knockout so many times, and like the thing that still freaks me out is the fact that Frankie actually sees it coming, because you see, and Frankie starts loading up on the overhand, and then he gets hit, and when Frankie goes down, Frankie's hand is still like this, ready to throw that overhand. That's just like, oh, that's so scary. And then even Cory saw the overhand coming, and Cory's coming down. Cory's actually has his guard up. I was like, that is just such high level everything. So yes,
Alex, where would you rank it in modern MMA for just knockouts?
I've got a few above it. I think as much as knockouts are we're looking at the technique and the technical aspects of it. It also has a lot to do with like the fighters and where they're at and like where you stand with them personally. Like, so for me, one of my favorite knockouts is going to be like a Shevchenko Jessica I because of what led to that point. Like Jessica I wearing a bulletproof vest at the media day stuff and then just gets head kicked and stiff as a board. So like for me, those are the knockouts that I kind of tend to prioritize. Obviously, you know, it's spectacular knockout for Sandhagen and Frankie Edgar's a legend, but like I just have to put others above it just because of my personal connections with them that way.
It's a fair assessment. Like my favorite knockout ever was Yair Zombie because I was like 10 feet away from it.
Yeah.
That's like there are probably maybe, and I can count on one hand better knockouts spectacular wise, but that had everything to me. That is the best knockout I've ever seen because I was 10 feet away from it. But Casey, what is your top 5 flying knee knockouts in MMA history? And I'll give you mine after.
Top 5 flying knee knockouts. In no particular order. I forget his opponent's name, but Kid Yamamoto versus that wrestler.
Yada.
That was just like all, in 2 seconds, just like that
2006 K1.
Yeah, that was just
K1 Heroes.
K1 Heroes. Yeah, it was MMA. It was MMA. So that one. What's his name? Carlos Condit versus
Dong Young
Kim. That's right up there. Obviously Frankie. Sandhagen, Askren. Well, Masvidal knocking out Askren. 1, 2, 3. I think one more. I'm missing.
I think you're missing a big one.
Everyone talks about the Stevens Bermudez one, but I thought it was okay.
It got overshadowed by everything else on that card.
Yeah. What am I missing?
Aldo Cub.
Yeah.
Double knee. Broke his face.
In the first exchange of the fight too. Yep.
Yeah. I also think Irvin Martin from UFC, I think 53, 54 is a big one. Aldo Mendez, I know it wasn't flying knee, the first one against the fence. I know the fence grab is kind of a thing. You're talking about old one. Anderson Silva, Carlos Newton from Pride, like 05 when he broke his face. BJ Penn, Sean Shirk, because that was like prime BJ when he was like licking the blood and everything. And then of course we just had the big story on the Spencer Fisher, Matt Wyman one, because that was like for a long time people thought that was the greatest knockout ever. Because Matt Wyman celebrated and ate the flying knee.
Yeah.
Maybe Garza. Didn't Pablo Garza have a big one like a while ago?
Yeah.
But that probably wasn't that high level. Yeah, there's a lot, but those are just some of the ones I can think of.
In terms of just like pure technique, I still think Sandhagen was the perfect one.
Chris Beal and Patrick Williams, UFC 172 in Baltimore.
Dude, you're going like dark. These are like. UFC Fuel.
I was at that. UFC 172 was John Jones Glover Teixeira was the main event.
Yeah, but that was like a prelim. Those are like you're talking about. Like,
that was the.
That was a Facebook fight, man. That was a Facebook fight.
I remember. Well, there's a few things in that. Chris Beal was on the Ultimate Fighter, the last ever Ultimate Fighter I watched, and he was on that one. I think that was the Rousey Miesha Tate one, so I remember that name. Patrick Williams went to Arizona State, and he was on the wrestling team, so I was like, oh, I know these two cats, and then Chris Beal just decapitated Patrick Williams with a flying knee.
Is this how you do it? Is this or is it this? What is that?
Spread the fingers out, my guy. Yeah. There you go. No, you're just holding up 4. There you go.
And that's.
There you go.
Remember when you do that? That's gross. Yeah, now it's the. Yeah.
Remember when Cain Velasquez did that? I can't remember who he knocked out. It might have been Big Nog, and he went up to the camera and did that.
Yeah,
and then Frank Mir was like, "Well, it must be a gang sign," something like that. And I was like, "Fool."
Fool. But the greatest knockout off a flying knee is actually the knee that didn't land. It's Fado over Arlovsky.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
That's
why Walker had a few too. We can't forget about his.
That's why I was so impressed because Frankie saw it and Frankie was ready. Like Frankie goes, look at the replay. Frankie's on the ground. His arm is stiff from ready to throw that punch. Like his arm lands like this. It was just like, ugh. I love that knockout.
MVP's Cyborg was crazy just because he literally broke Cyborg's face.
Okay, I completely forgot about that. I was thinking UFC, but yeah.
Cyborg couldn't fly home because his face was so broken. The pressure of the airplane would have like really affected him.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, and then that was the one where he threw the Pokeball too.
Remember? He did the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that one knocked out of the year at the time.
And deservingly so.
Yeah, broke his face, literally.
Dude, that's. Oh, okay.
Romero and Weidman was obviously a big one too.
That's a big one, yeah.
Slice his face open in Madison Square Garden.
But I'm pretty sure Sandhagen was the only one that landed any of these knees and still landed on his feet and just walked away like it was nothing.
No, Chris Beal, man. That was why it was so cool. Chris Beal, Patrick Williams.
I didn't have
the Cory Sandhagen
I didn't have
fight.
Facebook. I didn't have Facebook at that time.
Were you at that fight?
I was probably there. Of course I was.
In Baltimore?
Yeah, I was there. I
don't think Esther was at that fight.
No, she wasn't. Yeah, there was a lot of shit that went down that night.
I'm sure.
A lot of shit went down that night. It was crazy. Like backstage.
Actually, I remember what was I remember all of that. Yeah.
Remember that? That was like
I do remember that.
I don't want to bring up other people's business, but yeah, that was.
I do remember everything that went down that night.
Yep.
That was kind of like on the fly, like when you're in like a really awkward situation, you're just kind of looking around, like, oh, this is weird, and then you see people that are in the back that you didn't expect to be in the back because they're supposed to be doing other things. That was a weird situation. Anyway, Danielle Pompilio, watching Frankie go down on Saturday was pretty damn scary. What's the scariest KO you've ever seen?
I'm not ashamed to say when I saw that knockout, I was watching it from my kitchen because the fight's about to start, so you're like, okay, you're kind of watching it, before you think that fight's gonna last a little bit, and of course it's over like in 30 seconds. I yelped. I'm pretty much like my drink, I like squeezed it, like it was just like everything went crazy. I think I had a can of seltzer. I was like, I was scared for Frankie because it was so incredibly violent. What was your reaction when you saw that, Savas?
I don't think I was looking at the TV at the time. I have to watch everything on replay on Twitter anyway. I mean, I don't think I was working that week, right?
You weren't. No.
I wasn't working, so I probably wasn't watching live anyway.
My ESPN Plus feed was about 10 seconds behind everyone else's on the site. So our editor, Steven Morocco, just wrote, whoa, in the comment section, in the Slack. And I was like, damn it. Something's about to happen. So I kind of expect something. What's the scariest knockout you've ever seen, Casey?
Off the top of my memory, top of my head, Rose Namajunas getting knocked out by Andrade. That one scared the shit out of me. Yeah, that's way, because that was the first. Because you see knockouts and you go, oh man, that guy is he's gonna have a concussion. But Rose was like, oh, she might never walk again. Yeah, yes. Yeah. So without a doubt, that was it. I mean, I've seen like really bad beatdowns. I'm like, God, this is gonna be some long term damage. But in terms of like just boom, like down. I remember over him getting knocked out by Ngannou was scary. It was cool as hell, but it was scary. Yeah, in Detroit. Yeah, any time the guy goes down just out cold, like Yair Korean Zombie.
Yep.
I mean, as crazy as that was, it was kind of scary also, because first of all, in real time, it was even hard to understand what the hell happened. Which all the best knockouts are like that. Like what? Like did someone just snipe them from like the balcony? I don't know, but. Yeah, Rose Andrade, number one.
Alex?
Yeah, I feel like I totally forgot about that one, and that one obviously is the clear winner because the way her neck was bending. But my original answer was to go with Shevchenko and I, because we were in the backstage watching this happen, and I had a coworker who doesn't watch MMA with me, and just to see her reaction from somebody who's never watched anybody get knocked out cold. Yeah. For me, it made it so much more real because I was like, we're kind of desensitized at a point, but like watching her face, like the blood just like drained from her face. She's like, is she freaking alive? Like that kind of made it a little bit like more real for me, I think. So, but I think Rose Andrade is the clear scary winner.
For a long time, the scariest knockout I'd ever seen was another blast from the past, Matt Hamill versus Mark Munoz. Do you remember that one, Casey? Mark Munoz was unconscious for a while.
The guy that played
the head kick.
Yeah.
Matt Hamill. I said Matt Hamill. Matt Hamill and Mark Munoz. The Hammer, Matt Hamill. His head kick against Mark Munoz was
on the cage.
Scary.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. That was. I thought he was dead. Like Mark Munoz was unconscious for a long time, and then that was it for a long time, and then the Otman Azatar when he knocked out that Finnish fighter, Timu Pakalin, whatever his name is. This one where I think it was on the first Abu Dhabi card, the Poirier, the Khabib Poirier card. It was a prelim fight. I think it might have been. It was either Otman's first or second fight in the UFC, and Timu was. He had gotten knocked out just like his last fight too, but it was like a year. So it was like he hadn't fought in like a year or two, and then he comes back and it was one of those ones where he got knocked out and he was unconscious on his feet, and then he fell down, and then his body started to twitch on the canvas. So that took the place of the Munoz Hamill one for after that one, because he's one of those guys, like he's like James Vick, where he's tall and lanky, so when he falls it's a long way. And then he was unconscious, and then he fell, and then his like legs and body started like convulse. That one was really bad for me. And then I don't think he's ever fought again after that, because it was like back-to-back violent knockouts. I think he got knocked out by Makwan too, if I remember correctly. I don't know.
Jeez.
Oh, talk about flying knees. Wasn't Makwan Americani's Andy Ogle a flying knee?
I don't think so.
I can't remember.
I remember that stoppage was even that was a weird stoppage too.
Yep.
I mean, it was
Shout out to
fine,
Andy
but yeah. Andy Ogle.
Supposed to fight Conor McGregor in Boston. Oh, well. I mean, yeah, it was Boston. Yeah. Yeah, and then Max Holloway took his place. Thoughts on the Nate Diaz interview from Dolan S in the YouTube comments. I haven't finished it yet because it came out when I was driving, and I would lose service now and then going through like the desert and mountains between California and Arizona. So it kept getting cut off, so I just decided to wait. But have you guys watched it?
I only saw clips. I saw clips of it. You didn't see any of it, Miss Savas?
No.
Nothing.
I was waiting for like somebody to like tweet about something crazy that happened afterwards, and then once I didn't see that happening, I was like, well, nothing really got announced. So he wants to fight a couple times this year.
The biggest takeaway was he wants to fight Poirier or Charles Oliveira. I think everyone knew Poirier was the big one, but Charles Oliveira, I think, caught everyone off guard.
Well, I thought the biggest takeaway was the fact that he said he's done at lightweight, right?
I kind of. Well, that's fair, but I guess that's true, because in my mind he was already done, but I guess this just confirmed it.
Yeah. So any thought of him going back down as far as in the title picture or whatever, that's pretty much seems like it's not going to happen. And
he said 170 or 165.
When he said 165, I just got so annoyed because I kind of, I had these hills I'm prepared to die on, and 165 weight class was one of them, and I kind of gave up on it, and then he brought it up again. I'm like, now I got to think about this again. But I thoughts on Nate Diaz interview. I thought Nate Diaz has a cool gamer chair. His little racer chair. I thought that was cool. Vroom vroom. And other than that, it was cool. I just think it's interesting, all these pandemic interviews now. Like, it's like, because normally ESPN will have plenty of money. They'll hey, Ariel, fly out to Stockton and here's a film crew, and they'll do some cool thing. But now it's all like, hey, send Nate a Skype link and see what happens. So,
well, I think MMA was a little ahead of the game on those types of interviews. Because remember when we had Sean Ross Sapp on the A side once, and he said that he was doing a lot of Skype interviews, and it really had, the pandemic forced the professional wrestling scene to adopt to that. Like, no one was doing it then. No one was really doing it for any of the other major sports, because journalists are always on the scene. Mm-hmm. So I think MMA was for sure ahead of the game in Skype and video interviews like that. Like, and I'm talking about like interviews where you're in your home office and then they're in their home office, mm-hmm. not like you're calling in like on Around the Horn or something like that. Because obviously, like Fansided's done that where people call in when we work there and stuff like that. But
that was the MMA Hour for years. We had a studio, studio in New York and everything, and then.
Now Mike is carrying the torch with What the Heck. Yeah. So good stuff. Good stuff with Eddie Alvarez interview too. Go watch that.
That was good, man. Dude, you see the Bretton Hart? We didn't talk about Bretton Hart yet. Oh my God. These questions are horrible. I didn't get one Bretton Hart interview. All
right, Casey, tell me about Bretton Hart.
Oh, so good. The fight was great. The card was great. Like, I'm such a fan of her. I met her because I was at the when she fought Beck Rawlings, and for the original
Wyoming.
Was it Wyoming? Yeah, it was Wyoming. Yeah. So I was in Wyoming, and is it Casper? Where is it? Was I in Casper, Wyoming? Where was I in Wyoming? A nice town in Wyoming. And I went to a little tourist shop, and it was just all like cowboy stuff in there. And this very nice old lady runs the shop, and she's asking us like, "Oh, you're not from here?" I go, "Oh yeah, we're from LA. We're here for these bare knuckle fights." And she's all like, "Oh, bare knuckle and everything." She's like, "I read about newspaper." And I go, "Oh yeah." It's like, and I show her a photo. "Oh, you know what the main event is?" And I think that was the main event. And the main event was Beck versus Bret Hart. And I show her the picture of them facing off, and she looks at the picture and she goes, "Oh my, women!" And I have to catch her. She fell down. She's like, "Oh, women!" I caught her. Yeah. So
was it Cheyenne?
Cheyenne, that was it. Yeah, it was Cheyenne. It wasn't.
That's the only other city.
Yeah, it was near the southern border. It was Cheyenne. That was it. Dude, I loved Wyoming. I had a great time there.
Always Wyoming also had like the first Lethway fight in America, or not the first, but like the first big one. Yeah. What's his name? That David Leduc, whatever his name is, the one that hates masks and vaccines and all that stuff.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Dang it.
Oh, he is hardcore, and so he's very anti-mask, very anti like question authority. They're trying, you're all sheep kind of thing like that. Anyway, I don't have to get into that, but they had the he called it the whooping in Wyoming, and then he just like pieced up some guy. Yeah, but that was in Wyoming too. Like in 2020, if I remember.
I forgot. I somehow I missed that. Man, knowing too much about fighters is the worst.
He was on. I think he was on The Amazing Race with his wife too, and they were like the. Did either of you guys ever watched The Amazing Race?
Yeah,
I've heard
so
of it.
I don't really watch it, but I would tune in like if I was in front of a TV because I want to see how they would do. Because David Leduc is such a. At the time, I thought he was such an interesting character, and they were the antagonists of the season. Like everyone hated them. Like I would search his name on Twitter, and it was just people just hating on him and his wife because they I don't know. Strange times. I don't know what the whole situation is.
All right. Let's fly through the rest of these. You know what? We talked. I feel like it's old news, but we got a question on it, and we talked about it on Between the Links, but we didn't have a woman on there, so I felt weird. It was just a bunch of dudes talking about it.
We talked about it with Kristen, right? Last week.
But sorry.
So anyway, but Tristan Gordet again. So Stephen A. Smith's comments. For my apologies, I'm bringing up this topic again in regards to Stephen A. Smith's comments last week, but I have to ask, how much more concerning will it be given the fact that he has a major platform and continues to make these kinds of comments about women's MMA or MMA in general? Some in reaction from the MMA community, but not much from the other sport communities. Given the presumption that no one else cares or really had a problem about these troubling statements. So, Alex, you weren't on the show last week. Kristen was on the show, and I think she kind of went hard in the paint on Stephen A. Smith. But I will let you give your thoughts on it. I know you tweeted about it, and I even said last week when Chris was on the show, I'm like, well, I wish Alex was on the show to go hard in the paint too. So, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I think don't apologize for bringing this up again, because I think it's very important that this narrative never leaves. Which brings me to my next point, because we have seen a few other fighter perspectives since the initial discussion about it. The big one, I think, being from like Frank Mir. I saw him tweeting about how we should all just ignore it and not give him any sort of attention. And while I see where he's coming from, and I obviously believe Frank Mir probably has the same opinions as I do about women fighting, he's got his daughter, that's up there. But ignoring it is the wrong move. It just is. We've been ignoring it forever since the beginning of time. And finally, we have a platform to speak up against these things, and I'm not going to take it lying down. I think before the Me Too movement, there was the Time's Up, right? And Time's Up on pretending that this stuff doesn't exist and that we're just going to brush it under the rug because, like we talked about before, Stephen A. Smith's following is so massive, and so he has a responsibility to watch the things that he says. And yes, that's his opinion, but the followers that follow him might not be, hardcore MMA fans. And the truth is that watching female fighters is not liking watching female fighters is not an unpopular opinion. I hear it all the time. I hear it from people in my family, even though they know what I do. So when you perpetuate that stereotype, now you're just ingraining it even farther into people's minds. So if that's your opinion, you don't want to watch, then don't watch. And that's been said before. But honestly, there was no reason to even say it from him, because you have that responsibility to watch what you say, because your words have weight. And so that's why I'm saying, don't apologize for ever bringing it up again. I will bring it up till I'm blue in the face until the day that I die, because that's the reality of it. And, it's just until things are officially equal, which I don't think will happen for another 100 years, I'm going to be talking about this. So thanks for asking the question again.
Our good friend and all, I really like this guy, but he also said ignore it, was Brandon Fitzgerald, a longtime friend of our shows and one of the better, I think, more underrated commentators in the UFC. But yeah, Alex makes a lot of good points. I don't know. I just kind of didn't ignore it. It was just kind of behind me at this point. But you make good points.
It's like what I was watching last week, and Casey, if you take out women and you add in any marginalized group, it's an offensive statement.
It is.
It really is. So, and we're talking about, and I hear it all the time. I mean, just last week in the media day, like Clay Guida, he obviously loves watching women fight, but he also made the comment of oh, they're so beautiful creatures. I don't want to watch them. That's the same mentality. It's the same thing. Just because you're valuing a woman's appearance over what she wants to do with herself. That's the bottom line. That's all it is. And people view women as these delicate little creatures, but they want to fight. Let them effing fight.
Yeah. Whenever I hear the whole, it's oh, they're so beautiful. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm like, all right, yeah, who cares? Cool.
And I know they mean it. I've heard Anthony Smith say about his daughters, I fight so that, they're too pretty to follow my footsteps. But I'm I know he means well, I really do. But just think about the mentality that you're sharing with your daughters. Let them do whatever they want to do. If they want to follow in daddy's footsteps, hey, go ahead. You got a great coach at home, All
right. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for the question, Tristan. Don't apologize for asking. 8 titles in 6 weeks from MMG 2K20. In the span of 6 weeks, 7 UFC champions will fight with 6 titles on the line. Which fights are you most excited for? So the title fights coming up are Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya for the light heavyweight championship. Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson for the featherweight championship. Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling for the bantamweight championship. Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns for the welterweight championship. Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou for the heavyweight championship. Alex Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega for the featherweight championship of the world. So, Casey, if you had to pick one fight, and no lists, no if this, that one fight that you are most excited to watch, what are you most excited for?
Izzy versus Jan. That's the one I'm most excited for. Because I want to see it. That's all. I want to see Izzy at 205. I think he's a relatively small 185er. He's gonna be a very small 205er. So I want to see I want to see his feet bounce around and see if he can not get just mashed up on a cage with a much bigger man. So that's the fight. All the fights I'm very excited for, but that's the fight. If you're asking me the most excited for, is Izzy going for 2 belts?
Alex, I think I know your answer, but I'll let you.
Do you? Wait, what are you gonna say? I'm curious.
I was gonna assume you were excited for either the Nunes, Megan, or Volkanovski Ortega.
Actually, I'm picking Aljo and Jan because I think
you don't know Alex Savas.
Well, the fans have been rallying behind Aljamain Sterling for so long to finally get this shot, and I just want to see it happen. The guy just freaking deserves this more than anyone, I think, and I want to see it happen with my own eyes because I'm still in denial that this will happen for him.
I'm in agreement with Alex. I think a lot of people are expecting me to say Jan versus Izzy, which I'm very excited for because it's champ, but there are so many questions about the bantamweight division right now, and I think a lot of them will be answered or we can move forward after that fight. There's of all the ones we said, is there really a clear-cut number one contender in those divisions outside of bantamweight? I guess light heavyweight with Glover, but it depends on who wins. Whoever wins between Jan and Sterling, I think Cory should be next. But then there's also the question about TJ and all this stuff. So there's so many high-level fights at bantamweight coming up after that. So I am in agreement with Alex. Jan versus Sterling, I am very excited for.
My number two was Volkanovski Ortega, though. That's right there.
That's probably number 3 for me, just because it's a fresh matchup in featherweight, and I feel like we've had the same like group of fighters fighting for so long, and I'm just really and freaking Brian Ortega looked unbelievable against Korean Zombie, and we've seen Volkanovski fought Max Holloway for 10 rounds. I'm very excited for that fight too. In a tiny cage. But champ fights are fun. Amanda Nunes is the greatest female fighter of all time. I'd say easily top 10 UFC fighters in the history of the UFC. So anytime you see the GOAT do anything, I'm excited for.
I didn't mention all those fights. Actually, I'm super excited for, and I'm super excited to see Megan versus Nunes. I've watched Megan. I was at Megan's first fight when she fought, not her first pro fight, but her first fight in the States when she fought in Invicta. So I've seen her this whole time, and like I've seen her ups and downs. I've seen her take some losses, and I've shot video of her working out at Glory with James Krause and stuff. I've seen her work out in the big groups, and just she's like basically being the only female athlete in a group of like 25 fighters and stuff. And it was just fun watching her roll around and hit pads and move around with other dudes there. And I'm excited for Megan to finally get her shot. You know, she's been not talking a big game, but she's been wanting this.
She has been very vocal about her issues with the UFC not creating more of a featherweight division. I'm not rightfully so.
Yeah, I that's not even like an opinion. That's pretty much a fact. It's just so and of course
she's also when she was like a guest fighter backstage once. It might have been UFC 220. It was UFC 222 when Cyborg fought Yana Kunitskaya. It was like that last minute fight when I can't remember who the original fight. It was supposed to be Max and Frankie before I think Max fell out. I think, and then Frankie ended up fighting Ortega on last minute. But someone asked Megan, like, because at the time she was the Invicta champ, Chris Cyborg was the UFC champ, and was it Julia Budd was still the Bellator champ? So she was like, "There's 3 champs. Who is the best?" And she was like, "Chris, me, Julia." Like she was very honest with her assessment of the women's featherweight division, and it's refreshing where a fighter's just not like, "I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best." She was like, I'm not better than Chris right now. If I fight her, I will take it, but I'm not going to look past her accomplishments in the sport. So great interview, great fighter. Very much looking forward. And then Amanda, like greatest female fighter ever.
See,
anyway, Terrence Leverett. Sorry, I didn't see the question.
I like what you talked about that fact. I'm not sold on the. Okay, I think Amanda's on. I think Amanda.
We know because you can't overlook her previous losses to this and that. Ronda Rousey is still the greatest. We have this conversation every time.
I know.
Fights.
But you say like you say like it's a goddamn fact. I'm joking.
Hey man.
No. I definitely get the argument. I get it. I'm not against
opinions or facts in 2021. In case you remember, Terrence Leverett. Jan seems to be eyeing a TJ fight if he beats Aljo. He stated his opponent Aljo already beat him. What? Oh, he's talking about Cory. Does this mean to be a cop out? TJ's coming off a loss in EPO usage. Also, who would win between Jan and Sandhagen? We said this on the post fight show after he won. If they want to make TJ's the money fight for sure, because he's by far the more marketable, more popular, more well-known fighter. Cory deserves it. Dillashaw should get one win in before he fights for the title, but Jan just wants to knock off the champ that never quote lost in the octagon, and he's the bigger name anyway. So that is Jan's reasoning. Who wins between Jan and Sandhagen? Let's allow Jan to fight Aljo before we start talking about that.
If TJ was smart, if I were him,
wow.
Well, we're gonna find out if he is, depending on what his next move is. After 2 years off, I mean, if I'm him, I'm probably gonna want to take a fight before I try to just jump in and fight Jan for the title, because now you're gonna jump in, you might not be ready, and now you've lost that title shot. If I'm him, I'm taking another fight first, 100% to get my feet wet again, and then topping into the title picture.
You should fight Rob Font. That's the fight to make right there, because Rob's sitting at 5. He just KO'd Marlon after a long layoff. So I think Cory fights the winner of the main event. TJ fights Rob Font. Throw them on the same cards. I don't particularly care. And then the loser can fight, I don't know, Frankie, maybe. Frankie wants to come back. But then we got Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz out there too. And Jose Aldo.
Do we?
Yeah, Rivera and Munoz got pushed back.
Yeah. Well, we don't know. They say push back. Who knows? It's just like, I hope he. Is it COVID or is it just an injury?
Don't know.
No, they haven't said publicly yet. Okay.
No, I think they probably have. I just don't know off the top of my head.
Sandhagen should definitely fight the winner of Jan Aljo, and I'm with Mike Heck on this. I really think this is the time for the UFC to finally do TJ versus Faber. I think it's a great fight for both. I think it's a great fight for both of them right now. I just want TJ. He has to fight one time. I just think it's just something wrong with the way the system works. If you can get popped for EPO of all things, and this isn't like, oh, I took the wrong protein supplement. Oh gosh darn, we get that. Everyone kind of makes that mistake, I guess. But EPO ain't a mistake, and he should. He got his 2 years, and he just fight Faber. Fight makes sense. Faber ain't getting younger. There's never gonna be a time that fight's gonna make more sense than TJ versus Faber right now. So that's all I got. Man, we've been blabbing forever. Let me see.
I have a real quick question for the two of you. You can answer really quickly. There are April 17th and it's either April 16th, 17th, or April 15th, 16th. I don't know what day they fall apart. The first day is, and I'm taking all title implications, all Grand Prix out the picture. We're just looking at this as a solely high-level martial arts competition. You can watch one. There are two. There's a Bellator card and a UFC card, 1 day apart. The main event of the first one is Rumble Romero. The main event of the UFC card the day after is Whitaker and Costa. Which one do you watch?
Rumble Romero, for sure. I think that's gonna be the first show, and is that the first ESPN? Is that the first show in Showtime too?
No.
It's not the first show in Showtime, but no, Rumble Romero. Rumble Romero. Without a doubt, Rumble Romero. Yeah, that's pretty easy. As much as I love Costa, as much as I love Robert Whitaker and enjoy Costa's antics, I think that's a Robert Whitaker. I'm pretty confident Robert Whitaker is going to win. Rumble versus Romero. Who the freak knows? And I just want to see it.
Alex, I'm assuming you're picking Robert Whitaker.
Of course I am. And to be honest, I want to see Romero fight, but Rumble Johnson, I don't need to see him on my TV screen.
Yeah, I got you.
So I'll just look up the winner after it happens, and then I will happily watch Whitaker destroy Costa and go back and get his belt back.
Ooh.
Wouldn't hate if Izzy. Well, I want to see Izzy rematch Robert Whitaker very badly. Robert Whitaker should already be fighting for the championship right now. I still think they're the two best middleweights in the world. They fight 10 times. Who knows? But
I think they're the two
if Izzy wants to vacate that title to stay a light heavyweight and chase John Jones a heavyweight, Whitaker Costa is an awesome vacant title fight anyway. But let's get there first.
Fights I want to see so bad that I won't get to see. I want to see Mousasi versus either Whitaker or Izzy. I'm just so
Mousasi versus anyone in the top 5 at middleweight right now. I don't think he's fought any of them.
Just because the way the UFC matchups never worked right. It's just But hey, Mousasi's happy in Bellator. So I want these fights to happen.
Mousasi versus Costa, Whitaker, Izzy, Vettori, any of these guys. Darren Till, all those fights are fun. Anyway, any more questions, or is that a wrap? Because we've been blabbing for a long time.
Let me see. Yeah.
That is a wrap. That is a wrap for this. Wait, what'd you say?
I think we got one more question. Did we answer everything? Next. Hold on, let me make sure we. We got that one. I just want to make sure people who submitted questions, we answered them. Yeah, I think we answered them all. Cool.
All right, guys. We've answered all of your questions. This has been José Youngs with MMAfighting.com for another edition of the A-Side Live Chat. I got to zip up to UFC 258 tomorrow, so stay tuned for official weigh-ins, virtual media days tomorrow, fights are Saturday. We'll have all those shows. But Casey, before we go, what you got to say?
Nothing. I'm just jamming.
Alex, what you got to say?
I am a feeling. I'm not Casey
I am a
Leydon.
feeling.
I am a feeling.
Yeah, go watch Britton Hart's interview. Also, Britton's like the coolest name ever. I'm so jealous of that name.
I wish you had cut a Bret Hart promo the whole time. I was like, cut a Bret Hart promo, please. You're missing a huge opportunity here. Anyway, I'm Jose. That's Alex. That's Casey. I had something to say. Can't remember. Moving on.
But if you haven't seen, I know people are just talking about Britton Hart fight, but go watch that card. That card was that Knucklemania card was awesome. The co-main event was super good between Datwin and Johnny Bedford. Chris Liebman's fight was awesome. There was just some great slobber knockers before that. That was a great card. Like bare knuckle is really coming together well. Yeah, that's all.
Also, actually, I do remember what I was going to say because I've gotten a lot of DMs about this. For anyone, it has nothing to do with MMA because this is the only time I really speak on a platform. Everyone DMing me about WandaVision. Just go read Avengers Disassembled and House of M. House of M's a little hard to find. It's a little expensive. Avengers Disassembled you can find anywhere. Go read it. Go read Avengers West Coast from the 90s if you want to figure out what happens with the twins. Have fun. I don't want to give away spoilers, but it is. I haven't watched the show, but it's a time. Go ahead. Peace.
Real quick. Just because one word answered. We didn't even freaking talk about the main event for the pay-per-view. Real quick.
Oh my God.
Usman.
Who do you guys have?
Kamaru Usman.
Burns.
Ooh, Burns. I got Usman too.
All right. We'll break it all down on the pre-fight Q&A. We'll see you next Wednesday on the A side. We're out.